What's up, everybody? Hey, we missed last week. And we almost
My
missed
fault.
This week.
My fault that we missed last week. Almost Gary's fault that we missed this week. Because I had something that came up last Thursday night. So I text Gary earlier in the day, hey man, can't do it. He's like, oh, no problem. Around like 2 hours ago, I text Gary, hey, we still doing the Reacher stream tonight? He immediately calls me. He's like, dude, I just got tickets to Mickey 17.
Yes. So I refunded the tickets and I'm going to go see it tomorrow morning.
I didn't even know that was out yet here.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I was looking forward to this until I found out. Well, I mean, when I saw Ruffalo in it, I'm like, oh shit. But now I found out like Ruffalo is like literally playing Trump. And it's not like what people think they're seeing in Daredevil, which might be there. Like this is like to the ilk. Like
yeah, I am getting sick of every time someone sees like a corrupt politician or something be like, wow, look at this Trump shit. It was like Kingpin becoming mayor. Didn't that happen like in the comics?
It happens in the comics, and it's a trope. Like Lex did it years ago.
Yes, exactly. It's like a very common theme that we've seen throughout history. Yeah. Obviously, when you have lines like "Make New York a better city,"
like if he came out and said, "Make New York great again," like he's all, "I love New York," The Kingpin does love it. You know what? The Kingpin and Daredevil, they really love their city. It's like Arrow. Arrow's like, I'm going to make this city safe. And he's like, man, he is a civic-minded dude. Like, he loves the city.
Would you go out and fight crime? This city.
You failed. It's like, would I go out and fight crime for San Francisco? Fuck no. I want to risk my life for that place.
Fuck, Oliver Queen became mayor.
Uh-huh. Yes, he did. Yeah. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay. I have a whole video on that, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a ton on Friday Night Tights. We're here to talk about Reacher.
Yeah, we'll see when it comes to Mickey 17. Pretty much anytime Shad says something about a movie, I take it with literally not even a grain of salt, 0 grains of anything. It's like, okay, that was Shad's opinion. Let's see how I feel about it.
Let's see how I feel about it. That mofo likes Twilight.
It's true. That's probably why he was so excited to see Mickey 17, to be honest.
You know what? I didn't even think about that.
You're telling me I get 2 Robert Pattinsons in one movie?
Whoa, win-win. Woo!
Yeah, I have no idea whether I'll like that or not, but the one thing it did look to me was different. And I know it's based on a book already.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's an original idea, but it's different than a lot of the other stuff that has been coming out. So I'll give it a shot and see what it's like.
Yeah, that's what my interest was. It looked weird and sci-fi, and I don't hate Robert Pattinson as an actor. I don't despise him. So
I think he's actually an incredible actor.
Yeah, I think he's actually kind of good.
Yeah.
But I think it looked just surreal enough. A little bit of Terry Gilliam, going on there. But then we'll see. We'll see.
I've heard the book is weird as fuck. You know, books that aren't super weird, Reacher books.
Reacher books are not weird.
They're pretty simple and pretty straightforward.
Was it Brent DeSovic from Pop Culture Crisis tweeted somebody bitching about Reacher getting laid or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, he gets laid a lot.
Yeah, he gets laid a lot.
But he also can't say that he doesn't respect women. I mean, he does. Yeah. He stands up for them. He protects them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the same way that he stands up and protects weak men as well.
Yeah.
And in fact, Reacher typically, and that's the thing, the women that Reacher typically ends up being attracted to or has the most respect for are not very simplistic damsel in distress type of things. Usually they're women that are very competent and that he actually respects on a person-to-person level, that they're able to do a good job or that they're qualified at this. It's not just he fucks them because they're there or anything.
Yeah.
Kind of gay, honestly.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Respecting women for how good they are at their job. Ugh.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm gay then. Hey, I come from the school of the woman has to pull her weight, She has to pull her weight.
That's pretty much
whatever that means, if it's staying home with the kids or whatever, but pull your weight.
Yeah, which I mean, that's basically You know, that means Reacher's pulling like 270 pounds of muscle and the girl's pulling like 120.
120. That's reasonable. That's reasonable.
I
But in
think so.
today's standards, she would need to swim against a dude and carry as much, and then they would say that she could when she couldn't.
Pretty
When
true.
she couldn't. Yeah. That makes me think of Ridley's Cleaner, where she beats out a dude for special forces, which has that happened?
I am well, look, I imagine that there are women there are certainly women that can perform like those standards and those tests better than a lot of men that are out there,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Like if you or me go to try to run whatever special forces gauntlet there is physically, there's probably a lot of women who dedicate their life to that thing that could probably beat us in some of those things,
Oh,
Gary.
fuck yeah.
Right?
Like, would I be able to vape while I'm doing it?
Probably. Dude, before we had to run our PRT in the Navy, so we had two back when I was in, we had two physical fitness assessments every year. And I think now they might have lowered that down to one, which is crazy to me. But you had one in the spring, you had one in the fall. It was the whole command had to organize. It was this whole big thing. And they measure your height, measure your weight, make sure you're not too fucking fat. If you are, they tape you to then actually check like your BMI and everything. And if you don't meet that standard, you fail. But if you do, and most people do, either because they know somebody or because they hardcore diet for 2 weeks to get under that threshold, then you do the actual physical activity portion of it, which consists of 2 minutes of push-ups, 2 minutes of sit-ups, and a 1.5 mile run. And you don't have to do it for all 2 minutes, right? You do it until you hit whatever your number is. So, but it's crazy. Get this, Gary. It
Yeah.
varies depending on
What?
whether you're a man or a woman. Whether you have to
Sexist.
do whether you have to do like I think for men, like the bare minimum for dudes in their 20s was something like 42 push-ups in a 2-minute time period. For girls, it was like fucking 12, because they don't have good upper body strength. The crunches, though, the sit-ups were closer because the way that women's bodies are built and things like that. Then you had to do the 1.5 mile run.
Yeah. I can still do that. Hey, the fact that I can still run, Ryan, that's a victory. I don't worry. Yeah, like I'm not holding out any dreams as a 55-year-old. Like, yeah, there's still some people I could whoop us. It's like, no, I can still run is just great. I could do the 1.5 miles. I could do some crunches. You know what? We're shitty is ups and downs, dude. We did those in football. So during Hell Week, we did ups and downs, which was jogging in place, and you go down, do a push up. And the fucking coach was an asshole. He's all down, down, down all the time. It's like, prick.
I wonder because you're so old. I mean that in the
meanest way. Shut up.
In the nicest possible way. I actually want to see what you would have to do to pass. So you're what, 52?
Oh, bless you. I'm 55.
55. Okay, well that's even better for you. So males age 55 to 59. You want to know what basically the bare minimum is for you?
What's that?
Oh my God. This is so fucking easy. You have to do 12 push-ups,
which I can do
in a 2-minute period without like hitting on your knees or anying like that. Yeah. So
Jesus Christ.
I think you can do that.
2 whole minutes. It's an eternity to do 12.
Wait, did they not do sit-ups anymore? They do forearm planks. Can you hold a plank for 1 minute and 9 seconds?
Yeah.
And can you run 1.5 miles in 16 minutes and 51 seconds?
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
And you can make it.
Yes. Dude, I might fire up a heater and do it. It's been a while since I actually smoked a cigarette, but
that was what that's what I was thinking of. So before the fucking run, because we had guys that they'd only run, they were in the 3 mile club, 3 mile a year club. They'd do this thing twice a year, and that was it. Bro, they'd fucking immediately right before the race they said it was to open up their lungs. They'd smoke a couple heaters right before the run. So
I'm joining the army. The Ukrainian army, they need people. Just kidding.
They need bullet sponges, yeah.
Yeah. That's a touchy subject. That war thing. All right. So we're gonna go over quickly episodes 4 and 5. There isn't there isn't a ton to these episodes, the Reacher episodes. So it's just him trying not to get caught, basically, while they're trying to get a laptop. And well, the first one, we get a good flashback of like what's behind this. Is it McCabe? I keep forgetting the names.
Yeah, it's like Jonathan McCabe or something, which is the name of the guy, the pseudonym that he's basically acquired. Yeah. Whereas Reacher knew him as Xavier Quinn.
Yeah,
and
he looks more like a Xavier.
Obviously, well, they dropped a ton of hints throughout the episode that that this guy was a bad dude. That there was a lot of shit in the past. Reacher was shocked to see him alive. You could tell the way Neely reacted. Something bad like really happened in the past. And this is actually exactly kind of the way the book sets it up. You have little hints of things here or there before finally, like the cops, the DEA, so Duffy, Villanueva, and Elliot are forced, like finally shit comes to a head. They're like, Reacher, you got to tell us what the hell is going on. Who is this guy? And why is it such a big deal? And Reacher spills the beans to them. And that's pretty much exactly the way it goes down here in the show as well. And you get introduced to Dominique Cole, who was a young, hot running. I think she was like a first sergeant or something. I don't exactly remember. Sergeant first class. I don't remember. But she was a young gunner in the MPs that got attached to Reacher's department. He thought he was going to fucking despise her. Turns out she knows her shit. And they immediately kind of catch a case that gets them a little bit more well acquainted. And they find out that someone is selling state secrets to, I think, the Syrians.
Yeah.
Some sort of terrorist organization.
To the FBI. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. And so basically the whole episode is mainly a flashback on this and showing how they track these people down, the legwork that went into it. Another guy, Francini, I forget what his name is, Anthony Francini or something, who's also a character in the book, who's also attached to their thing. And at the end of the investigation, they do everything they need to do. They get all the witnesses to come forward. It turns out that one guy is he was only selling these secrets because this dude, Xavier Quinn, kidnapped his kid and wouldn't allow him back until he did what he wanted him to do. So that's a little tie into how Reacher kind of immediately recognized what was happening with this other kid as well, to immediately jump to that conclusion. And Reacher basically says, hey, Cole, go get him. You and Francini, whatever his fucking name is, you go get him. You earned it. Fucking go arrest him.
Yep.
They don't hear from her as soon as they would think. Reacher texts, even though he never fucking texts, and she answers back and she says, no problem, it's all taken care of, sir. And he immediately is like,
yep,
I told her never to fucking call me sir. Races over there, barges in. Francino is dead on the fucking ground, and Cole is gone. Dominique Cole is missing. Reacher, with the help of like his superior, tracks down where they think he might be holed up, basically going over some business. It wasn't even a business attached to him. It was just a couple places in the area that were registered under LLCs, and they kind of narrowed it down.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's like, hey, cops are going to be there in 30 minutes. Reacher says, I'm not fucking waiting for the cops. Yeah. I'm not going to arrest this guy. And his superior's like, well, my standard, do it once, do it right.
Yeah.
Basically gives him the go-ahead and just fucking murder this guy.
Yep.
Reacher finds the place, happens upon it. I don't remember, because I watched last week. I don't remember if he finds Xavier Quinn first or finds Dominique first.
I think he opens the door and sees like her hanging. And then he's somewhere, Xavier Quinn is somewhere else, and then he runs into him and he tries to like make a deal with him. He's like, listen, I had to do it. Nothing personal.
To convince Reacher that Cole was on the take.
Yeah. He's like, she was screwing you over. She was going to take all the money, and I had to do what I had to do.
Reacher's like, what's her first name?
Yep.
Because he can know Cole from what's on her outfit and everything like that, but what's her first name? You're telling me you had this big deal, this went on for months and months and months, you don't even know her first name? Bullshit. marches him out onto a cliff above a big like river basin, and turns him around. I forget what gets said between them, but Reacher just shoots him in the
Shoot.
fucking head, and he drops down, and he goes back and gets Dominique's kind of body down, and obviously it's clear she's been like tortured and brutalized and shit like that. They don't really show her body. However, in the book, it's pretty graphic as to what Xavier Quinn does to these people. Like it talks about her breasts being cut off and like all of this stuff that goes into the torture of especially women that he sometimes has in captivity. It's really fucking bad. And obviously that's what he is thinking is going to happen to the person they're trying to save right now, who is Teresa.
Yep. Teresa. If Teresa's still around. We'll get to that in just a second. If Teresa's still around. Yeah, so that's brutal. Like, this is like, one of those rare times when Reacher actually shows a little emotion, he gives a shit, but like you can tell this one got to him. So
in the book, it like says that Reacher cries, and it talks about how he basically never fucking cries. And in the book, it like goes out of its way to say that like Reacher cried for the first time and like whatever when this happened, because he felt it was his fault, and it kind of was, for being so desperate to like get this girl the attention that he thought she deserved or whatever. And he had a little crush on her too. Like that was pretty obvious. He had a little crush on her. And yeah, so he feels like it's all his fault. So he fucking murders the guy. Turns out he's not murdered. And they talk about that actually in the book and in the show in a similar fashion, that he used Quinn's 22 that he had there so that it couldn't be traced back to his service weapon. And I mean, obviously still you get shot in the head with a 22. Not great chances, but way better than something
way better. Yeah.
Way better than something that's more sufficient. And they have all the medical records that they tracked down from this guy. Apparently he had amnesia, but they thought he knew more than he knew, probably like a short-term amnesia kind of thing. He couldn't remember a lot. We're about to find out how much amnesia he potentially had after the ending of that 5th episode. And then it kind of goes back into present time. So Reacher goes. This is when Reacher was explaining everything that happened about how he, murdered Duke, blew up the DEA safe house that they had used for this. And like that's when all these bodies are fucking piling up, as they often do when Reacher's involved. All these bodies are piling up. That's why the DEA guys kind of press him for this story, because they know everything that the DEA knows. They need to know what Reacher knows. So then he goes back and he starts trying to train the weak pussy ass fucking kid.
Yeah,
which is great.
Yeah. And his dad's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Yeah. So he goes back and trains a kid, and and Duffy
shits on that kid the entire time. By the way,
I know
he's like, "You're fucking you're gonna get the shit kicked out. You're gonna get picked on. Look at you. Of course you are."
Yep.
And he's like telling, "Hey, if you're gonna be the weaker guy in the fight, you got to strike first." Little Cobra Kai action. Like you got to strike first, take him by surprise, hit him with your best first time. Because if you're going to be the weaker guy in the fight, he's like, well, what if I'm not the weaker guy in the fight? And Reacher's like, you will be the weaker guy in the fight.
You'll always be the weaker guy.
There's
you need
no
to be
doubt
smarter.
about that. Yeah.
And you're not wrong. 22 bullets can bounce around in your body. So they can be very bad. Very, very bad. So after that, Duffy and what's the partner's name?
Villanueva,
Mexican guy.
Yep.
He could be Colombian as far as I know, but I'm going to say Mexican guy. They go into that warehouse or that factory or whatever it is, that shop. And that episode ends with like three or four guys going in and just go, if we find anybody in here, we kill him.
And the setup for that is that they have found a way to track Angel Doll's laptop.
Yeah.
So the laptop that they had been utilizing, one, to plant fake emails to make it look like Angel Doll, and this other had been teaming up with this other group, whatever this other group may have been, to try to take down the business. That's that laptop, and they'd found a way basically to track it because of that. And they had the laptop with them in the car that they were carrying around with them, and so that's how they knew that Angel Doll's laptop was at their. Is it like a? I don't know if it was a tubing factory or a lubricant warehouse or something.
Some kind of factory warehouse
But
thing.
it was a warehouse, a
Yeah.
good setup for a little bit of hide and go shoot, you
It's
know?
got metal roofs, so the cell phones can't get out. Reacher knows that like their people are going after him and he can't contact them. And also he calls Elliot. It's Elliot, right? To try to call them, and I think he's trying to call the business itself, right, on the landline. I think
Yeah,
that
and
was
that's
him because the
basically the
phone
start
was
of the next
ringing. Yeah,
episode
that's the start of the next episode.
is, like, the end of episode 4 is Reacher fucking basically hopping in a car, can't get a hold of them, no signal, and those guys like, "All right, hey, if anybody's in here, we fucking shoot first, ask questions later," basically kind of thing, and they start walking in, and looks like these guys are gonna get fucked.
So the guy who takes out the trash, we'll talk about him later. But did you notice how fucking little that dude is? So they have him next to like fucking Alan Richson and that fucking beast, whatever, in
Ollie.
one scene when they're walking in, and he like comes up to their waist. He looks like a child. It's like
He's probably like 5'8" or 5'9", you know what I mean? But next to those guys, he looks
like
tiny.
that guy is huge. That one, what's the actor's name? He's fucking a monster. I thought I
That
saw
dude's
him.
like 6'9" or something.
Jesus Christ. He could have played Oliver Richards playing Paulie. He's probably on the roids like everybody.
100% he is. They actually go pretty in depth. They go pretty in depth in that about like Reacher watch him just shoveling pills in his mouth and stuff, and how it affects his sex drive. And Paulie does. I don't know if they're gonna get into it in the show, so I kind of don't want to get into it yet.
Yeah.
But Paulie is a fucking nasty dude. He's a nasty dude. We get a little more Paulie in episode 5 because
we do.
episode 5, Reacher is kind of racing to that warehouse because he gets sent there to help those guys kill whoever is there, because they still assume it's everybody that was associated with Angel Doll. If Angel Doll's laptop is there, that's where they're at, so they're going to go get him, especially after getting ambushed and Duke got killed and all these people. And Reacher finally gets a hold of Elliot, who's still watching the prisoner at their little safe cabin. The prisoner who's completely being denied all of his constitutional rights, by the way, for them to hold him like that.
Yeah. The bodyguard, right? So
yes, the bodyguard that was picking up the kid in the very first episode, who obviously they couldn't actually arrest and let him call a lawyer, because then everyone would know the whole thing was a setup by the cops. So Elliot calls there, lets them know what the hell's going on, and Duffy and Villanueva get like 1 second's notice before bullets start flying.
Yep. And Reacher's on his way there. I'm fucking Amazon Prime is shit, dude. Okay, can we talk about that for just a second? I just watched Reacher fucking 15 minutes ago, bro. So I go to I'm trying to like get up there for reference, to pull it up for myself for reference. Fucking Reacher doesn't even show up on the fucking menu. Right? Continue watching.
You just watched it. You obviously don't want it again.
Yeah, like get out of here. So they're in that warehouse. Get out, stupid voice text.
And Reacher comes busting in as the shootout is kind of already happening. And Reacher, every gun that Reacher has in his hand that Alan Richson is holding looks fucking tiny.
I know.
Because he's just such a big guy. Yeah, it looks almost comical how small normal handguns look in his hand. But which is good. It's accurate to the character. Reacher is supposed to be a monster of not a monster like Paulie, but a really big dude.
Yeah,
a really big dude.
Not Tom Cruise.
Yes, not Tom Cruise. Although I like Tom Cruise, and I thought those were fine movies.
Those movies are fine, actually. Yeah,
they weren't really Jack Reacher movies. And so Reacher goes in there, he's doing a little like looking around the corner. Him and another guy, one of the guys that's sent there, one of the crew that he's part of, sees him. They both kind of, all right, like, realize it's each other, don't shoot. Yeah, the guy tells him, hey, you go that way. I'm going to go this way. I'll go this way. Go. And he starts moving, and Reacher just fucking shoots him in the back of the head.
Pops him in the back of the head, dude. That's great. I live for those moments.
No fucking remorse. Just boom, gone, done. Duffy's kind of forced to dive on the ground, shoots one in the leg, and then is able to actually shoot him and finish him off. But as she kind of dove to the ground, her badge falls off her belt.
Oops.
Oops. So that's going to be a thing. They hover on it for a second to show she dropped the badge, and her and Villanueva are trying to make their way out. They don't even know Reacher's in there yet, and they're about to try to take out the last guy, and Reacher pulls her back and stops her and says, "Hey, it's going to look way too suspicious if I'm the only survivor again of another ambush. Like that, we can't let that happen. That can't be the case." So he has a plan to kind of distract him and to let Duffy and Villanueva escape. Tells him to dump the fucking laptop. It works. They do dump the laptop. As Reacher's like peeling out, he kind of skids a little on the dirt, just enough to put him into a bigger pile of dirt that he knows he's not going to be able to get out of right away.
Yep.
So they escape, leave the laptop, but they escape. And it's just Reacher and the other dude that's part of the crew who we get a lot of talking from, actually.
Yeah, a lot. Also not a good guy, but he is waste disposal. There's a quick little conversation between Duffy and Villanueva about like don't be black-pilled on Teresa dying, basically. Which
Duffy's
is funny.
Trying to say that, and Villanueva's like, look, not everybody is like, not everybody lives, not everybody comes back. Some people fucking die.
Yep.
Like a lot of times when these people are missing, we don't find them.
Yep.
And Duffy's like, she's finally like having to come to that realization that she could have got this girl killed. Like as much as she's trying to deny it, that's kind of the reality, which is one of the reasons now we understand why Reacher sympathized with that plight so much in the very beginning.
Yes.
Right. Because it's the same person's involved in Quinn, and Duffy's in the same position he is, that she feels responsible for this girl who's probably fucking dead in a really brutal
way. And that comes back up again later in a way. In the meantime, waste disposal midget and Reacher are tossing bodies, the leftover bodies from the attack on down. Now, this is obviously going to come up later. I don't know when, but there is like a little cove where they drop it, and then the riptide just takes the bodies out. And he's like, it's like a little toilet.
It's like nature's toilet. And it's a pretty brutal, and Reacher's just like hauling these people and throwing their bodies.
Dude, one guy hits the side on the way down. It's not a clean fall. You're like, oh, crunch.
And in the book, I don't know if they're going to talk about this at all, but in the book, basically where Reacher dove into the water, a couple nights before when he had his little excursion out there, he was probably only like 50 or 100 feet from that area with the really bad riptides like that. Which that kind of gets explained to him. He kind of comes to that realization a little bit later that that's how close he could have been to that supposedly super deadly riptide.
Yep. You don't want to be caught in those, by the way. That's probably why I fucking hated the ocean, even though I grew up next to it my entire life. When I was younger, I got pulled out in a riptide, and a lifeguard had to come and get me. And it wasn't even like that bad of a one, but I'm like, fuck the ocean. I'm not getting in it. Fuck surfing. Sure. I grew up in a surf town. I'm the guy who fucking hated it. It was a good place to go drink at night. That's about it. But
it can be really bad. It can be like super bad. It can be very dangerous because it just happens kind of unexpectedly, and all of a sudden you're out there. If that ever happens to you, swim to the side. Don't try to swim straight back. Don't try to swim against it. Swim to the side, 5, 50, 100 yards, whatever. Then try to come in, see if it's easier. If not, keep going to the side.
Yep.
So I've been in a couple.
Yeah.
None that are like super deadly or anything, but
yeah. It's really embarrassing having a lifeguard come and get you too.
I would probably rather die than have a lifeguard come and get me. I'm not gonna lie.
Dude, it was so embarrassing. And I was at the worst age for it. I was like 13. Okay. So I was like in puberty, fucking insecure anyway. My older sister's there with all her boyfriends, and they're all fucking clowning me anyway. It was pretty brutal. No, it wasn't Baywatch. Dude, yeah. If, a couple of hot women with giant tits as flotation devices come get me, I'd fucking get caught in a riptide every time. But no, it was some dude. So no, it was
Is
Hasselhoff.
that Sandlot where the kid tries to drown himself to get saved by the? It's Sandlot, right?
I can't remember. I
What
haven't seen
movie is
Sandlot
that
in
where
years.
the kid tries to drown himself just so the hot lifeguard
Respect.
has to give him mouth to mouth?
Respect.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
I think.
Sandlot. God, I haven't seen that in a minute. Okay, so we are Reacher's dumped the bodies. By the way, he's sizing this thing up, which is obvious. He's like, this is we'll put a pin in that, for later. And I thought, dude, I was waiting I know he couldn't do it, but I was like waiting for him to just fucking toss that dude off the fucking, and that might happen. You never know.
Yeah,
Feels like
like
they're
some
setting
of
it
it
up.
is obviously like a lot of it is just the depravity of all the people that work with him. Like it's just like such the opposite of everything that Reacher respects, and that a lot of these guys are like former military but pieces of shit. A lot of them are former cops but pieces of shit. Right? That's basically that does get revealed in these conversations. That's where Quinn McCabe gets a lot of these people. They're just massive piles of shit that he pays money to. So there's really no loyalty. There's no brotherhood. These people don't care that their guy they were working with the other day just got shot. So it's just the opposite of everything that he would expect. Reacher calls back to fill in. I think Reacher has a short call in the barn or something to fill in Duffy about kind of what had happened and what was going on. And the boss man, the mini boss man, comes and says, what the fuck are you doing? I got McCabe's guys here to help out. Because obviously we need more security. We just got these guys gone. So Quinn McCabe sent more guys to.
Well, the midget identified with Duffy and Villanueva. He sussed out their guns. Right. Yeah, he looked at their guns and he's like, they're feds. Like that's Fed issue. They're obviously feds. So that Beck knows, and now Quinn called McCabe or something like that. But he's Quinn. Is called for reinforcements, and they're in the kitchen when he gets back.
Exactly.
Well,
at that point, he basically like it's federal agent issue. Like we know it's some kind of federal agency.
Yeah.
And so Reacher, goes back in the house. The maid and the cook are in the kitchen, and McCabe's new guys who are just being a bunch of assholes are sitting there as well. There's this random conversation about the coffee, which is from a squirrel's asshole, apparently.
A cat's asshole, and that's real.
Cat's asshole, yes.
A cat's asshole, and that is absolutely real.
Yeah. It's like so foreign to Reacher that anyone would fucking desire. I don't get it either. I don't understand why anybody would want that.
As somebody who loves coffee, fuck no. You're weird. You eat cat shit. And by the way, it has to do with the litter box, but that stuff's bad it's toxic for you. Cat shit is bad for you. There's a whole Joe Rogan thing on it. Look into it. It's bad. It's not good.
And those guys are kind of being assholes, especially to the maid, the maid and Reacher have had some like decent little conversations. She speaks French. He knows French because his mom was French.
Yep.
And so they've had a little good, a decent little relationship in the short time that they've been there. And both the guys are kind of talking shit to her. I say, hey, you need a little cream in your coffee, blah, blah, blah. And Reacher just fucking kicks the guy's leg out, smashes his head against the fucking table, and he's knocked the fuck out. And he looks at the other guy and he's like, you have any thoughts on dessert?
Yeah.
The guy's like, I'm diabetic, bro. No, I ain't saying nothing.
I got nothing. Good. By the way, Reacher's dad, Matthew Marsden.
Yep. We got some flashbacks in the first season for a little background on old Jack and his brother's life. And Matthew Marsden was Jack Reacher's dad, which is awesome.
Awesome.
So he goes back upstairs. He realized he can't have the fucking badge on him, obviously. He's still got Duffy's badge that he picked up. So he looks for a couple hiding places to stuff it, decides on the pillowcase, which I think is an awful place to hide it.
It's totally a terrible place to hide it.
Like not many better places, I guess, that he had looked, like in the drawer, under the bed, like whatever. But he shoves it down all the way in the bottom of the pillowcase, and he gets a knock on the door, which actually that's probably the reason he left it there. He's like looking at the pillowcase and he gets a knock on the door and he fucking shoves it in there quick, puts it back. And it turns out that the maid had left him a slice of pie and said, merci, little thank
Merci.
you for standing up for her. I'm sure Jack Reacher ate his pie.
Mhm.
And
Not
in
hers, though.
this, somewhere in this, I don't exactly remember how or when or what, Elliot holding the prisoner back in their
Elliot.
safety cabin, Elliot, who is obviously a little bit in over his head. Obviously, it feels a little bit uncomfortable with the situation. Finally gets talked into giving this guy a cigarette, which he's been asking for a cigarette for fucking ever, right?
Mhm.
Been asking for a cigarette forever. Finally gets sweet talked by the guy they arrested, but not really arrested forever ago, who they're holding captive, the black dude who they have holding prisoner, and finally gets convinced to give it to him. Now, I don't know what he took a swig of because I looked away in the moment where he took a swig of something. Was it like alcohol for his wound or something like that?
I think so. I can
It
come
obviously
up.
wasn't beer or something because beer wouldn't light up like that. But I believe it was probably like the rubbing alcohol that they had for his wounds.
Yeah.
He hurt
Yeah.
himself, if you remember,
Yeah,
intentionally.
it's the rubbing alcohol.
Yeah. So as he goes, because he's still handcuffed. As he goes to get the cigarettes, he takes a swig, like no hands, takes a swig of rubbing alcohol, holds it in his mouth, and waits for him to flick the lighter. Lights him up, little fireball, disorients. Obviously, not enough to like actually hurt somebody, but obviously disorients Elliot. He
Oh,
stands up, beats the shit out of him. Stomp, 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 stomp. They went full curb stomp on his
that's
ass.
kind of brutal. There's that one shot where he's kind of looking up where he's barely alive, and then the final stop just does him in. That was pretty good. That was pretty
Yeah.
violent.
So
Then
the
he
guy they've been holding escaped while Duffy and Villanueva were probably off getting donuts or something.
that's the kind of guy you got to watch out for. Not the guy who's going to be like Paulie, who's all fucking bad. It's the charming guy. It's the guy who's going to talk your ear off. Got to watch out for those motherfuckers. Those talking
100%.
motherfuckers. Yeah, he got
Um,
crunched. He got crunched. Elliot is dead. E.T.
Elliot dead. And
He
so
lost his friend.
Duffy and Villanueva come back, find that they're like, oh shit, this guy can blow the lid on everything, obviously.
Yep.
And she calls Reacher, which is pretty much a no-no because he's got a fucking like hidden phone stuffed in his shoe. So like
Especially considering what happens in a little bit. But yes, that's very bad.
very
And she's
bad, like
not supposed to.
not supposed to. So he hears that as he's brushing his teeth or something, immediately runs over there, grabs it. Cause like obviously if you're risking my life, this is like something big time. And she spills the beans on what happens. And he's like, we have to intercept the car because he doesn't have a phone, obviously. Like all of this stuff. What's he gonna do? He's not gonna go to the police, right?
Nope.
So he's
Nope.
gonna come back and talk to Beck because he doesn't have a phone, doesn't have anything else. He's gonna come back and talk to Beck. We can stop him, right? So he basically he says, send Villanueva to the road that's leading to their big private estate.
Yep.
And you need to find a way to shut the lights off. So Duffy shoots up a fucking transformer, takes out power to half of Maine. It looks like not really half of Maine, but like half the county, the little county they're in Maine. A lot of lights go out, including at the big house.
Quick side note, that actually happened in Northern California. Remember the video they got of that about 10 years ago? The dudes, now they didn't take it out, but they tried to. Eric probably remembers this because they thought it was like eco terrorists or something like that. They still don't know who did it, but somebody tried to shoot up a big transformer in Northern California and take out the power completely. Remember when the internet got cut a bunch of times about 10 years ago? That was all in Northern California too. And people were just like literally cutting these giant internet. They found them somehow because you're not supposed to know where they fucking are.
Just,
and they took
just for the hell of it.
just for the hell of it. Yeah. Sorry,
Dad. Right.
Just made me think of that. But yeah, so Villanueva, he calls Villanueva to get in that road, and he's just got to meet Reacher there. Reacher goes there. He's like, you got to park your car in the middle of the road. And he's all, why? We're gonna flip it. And he's giving him shit. Like they're having trouble like pushing the car over. And he's all, there's donuts on the other side of that. You get this fucking car over. And he's all, fuck you, or asshole. And then he fucking asshole.
Yeah. He did say make it as light as you can, get everything out of the car that you can, because his plan was to flip it.
Yep.
So they stage it to make it look like there's a car accident in the middle of the road, car flipped over, and they're gonna have Villanueva play dead in there just to get the guy to stop, right? And they have a couple minutes back and forth while they're waiting on this, little joking around about, Reacher's like, if he's going 70 miles an hour, it'd take him 490 feet to stop. We got 500 feet. He's like, well, what if he doesn't hit the brakes right away?
I know.
Reacher's like, well, your benefits transferred to your wife or what?
He's an asshole.
He's talking about how he's the old overweight cop who's close to retirement, but he sees like kind of the drive that Duffy has and the massive mistake that she made, and he just felt like he had to help her try to get herself out of that.
Which is actually works for the story. It makes sense that like a cop like this he's like, I'm fucking out anyway, so I'm gonna help somebody on the way out. And it's a little later, but she makes it clear like she knows she's not gonna have a job after this. Like everything she's done is way above beyond being legal. And she's all, I shouldn't have a job. Nope, I shouldn't, but I'm gonna keep trying. So yeah, he has to get in the car. And hopefully the bodyguard sees the car in time and stops in time, which he does. The car shows up, bodyguard walks up to the car, looks into it, and Villanueva's there kind of faking being knocked out. He goes, like, the bodyguard's like, what the hell? And then Villanueva just looks at him and goes, this is for Elliot. Fucking Reacher just pops him in the back of the head. Okay. Like there's no I love that there's no fanfare. It's just like no monologuing or anything. Just boom, you're done.
Yeah, no, unless it's like for an important death or something. Like nothing, no like amount of remorse for just like these the good guys just killing people in cold blood, but they're bad people. So that is Reacher's like moral code, right?
Yeah.
He sees people as good people or bad people. Obviously not just that, but he has no remorse whatsoever. If he sees somebody and he thinks they're a bad person and they're supporting a bad thing, he has no qualms with killing them. Yep. He doesn't feel guilt. He doesn't feel regret. He doesn't feel remorse.
It should. Like you said, like this season has kind of the darkest, like the whole thing is that everybody's like, I mean, everybody's bad in other Reacher seasons, but they're fucking really bad here. They're all probably going to die horribly at the end. But yeah, this season doesn't have quite the levity that like season one had, like hanging out in the barbershop, talking about music a little bit, there was just a little more the black cop, like those guys playing off each other. That was pretty funny. There's not a lot of that here. It's pretty fucking serious this season.
There's little jokes sprinkled in and out throughout stuff, but obviously the idea of Reacher, the thing is Reacher is constantly surrounded by all the bad guys.
Yep.
Like that's the difference. He's undercover. Yep. And so you don't have as many of those moments with the good guys or whoever the good guys are at this specific time, even that you had in season 2 when the whole group was kind of together, fucking razzing each other back and forth, like old work buddies, stuff like that. Because Reacher's not around those people. He is he has help, obviously, but he's very alone when he's there.
Yeah.
And he's just surrounded by massive pieces of shit.
Yeah. And I guess the big difference is you could see like Reacher's, he's a little scared. He's a little scared sometimes, like the situation especially when he gets back, dude. Like
he's about to be for the first time we've maybe ever seen him. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, was this when Paulie hits him in the face?
Yeah, so this is he comes back, and as Reacher's out doing this, by the way, because Reacher basically says, "Hey," the way he gets out, he's like, "Hey, if they cut the power," he convinces everybody that there's about to be an attack. Right? They just cut our power. We just took out a bunch of their guys again. Like they're gonna come after us. They might even be going after your son. And there's a little moment where Reacher tells the son to go into his room and lock the door. You'll be safe. And Beck wants, no, be with me. I want to be able to see you. And the kid kind of looks at the dad, looks at Reacher, and goes in his room. So Beck's not very happy about that. But Reacher convinces them there's about to be an attack. He goes out to try to head anybody off that he possibly can. And that's when he's doing all this stuff. They take the opportunity to be like, all right, let's toss this place because obviously things aren't making sense here. Somebody's getting information. Something's going on. So they start tossing the place, tearing it apart. And they're going through all these different rooms.
They even show a guy going through a pillow.
Yeah, going through a pillow. Yeah. And they get to Reacher's room. You can see like the outline of the badge in the corner of the pillowcase in the room that they're searching. And so Reacher comes back and everyone's in Beck's office and he like walks in. He's like, what's going on? He's like, well, why are you back? What happened? And he said, well, it's just a power outage. Half the county had power out. Some fucking drunk hit a transformer, blah, blah. It comes up with some story. But the power's back on everywhere. It wasn't just us. No, sorry to sound a false alarm. And Beck's like, we decided while you were gone, we were going to search the place. Because obviously something doesn't make sense here. Obviously, all this information that's getting out, Angel Doll, none of this is making sense. There's some information that's leaking from here. And look what we found. And he holds up a cell phone that's pretty much identical to the one that Reacher has still in his boot. You think that they found the badge, right? They didn't find the badge. They found a phone. It turns out, and they look through the history of messages, turns out the maid was a plant. And Reacher's like, what, for who? And Paulie lets it slip. ATF, who the fuck do you think?
Oh.
Right? So Reacher's been working with the DEA all this time because they've been assuming that this guy's been running drugs. They've been assuming that because he met with a drug dealer, that's why they brought in the drug sniffing dog who didn't find anything. They've always thought it was drugs. But this is when Reacher puts everything together and realizes they're fucking running guns. And he explains all that to Duffy in a little bit. But it turns out that the maid, the ATF, had sent the maid in there undercover, who was doing a very similar thing that Reacher was, except she was only communicating every like 2 weeks or something, sending a couple messages, sending what she could, and then would check in every 2 weeks. So they found that in the maid's room, and they immediately fucking kill the maid.
Yeah, Paulie
kills the maid, and Reacher's pissed. Reacher's trying to cover it up like I want to interrogate her because he really wanted to protect her. I want to interrogate her. I'm trained. I'm an MP guy. I know what I'm doing. I can get information out of her. And Paulie's like, oh, yeah, I killed her. I hit her a little too hard. It happens sometimes, blah, blah, blah. Reacher's fucking pissed. And Paulie's like, what the fuck are you going to do about it? And Reacher throws a punch right to Paulie's gut, a hard one. Nothing happens.
It was just like the skinny kid hitting him. That's where it's supposed to kind of like doesn't even move him. Doesn't do anything. Yeah.
And Paulie fucking all right. And then socks him in the face, and Reacher goes down hard.
Yeah.
Reacher
really
goes down like he's never gone down. He's never been hit by someone like, I don't think anyone's ever been hit by someone like Paulie in their life, probably. And he goes down hard. And they spent a lot of time on that shot showing him bleeding, showing like the look on his face, because he's never been that guy to get hit like that. He's delivered a lot of those hits. He's never been the guy to take it. And he's like spitting blood out of his mouth and washing himself off. He calls Duffy to fill her in and say that they're fucking running guns. That's why they've got a mechanic on staff.
Yeah.
Like, even though all these cars are brand new, you don't need a mechanic. He's the one that's making sure all the guns are in working order. This is why this happened. This is why the dogs didn't sniff anything. They're running guns. They had ATF in here, and we just got an ATF plant similar to the Teresa plant and now the Reacher plant. We just got somebody else killed. And Reacher then has to go out with the waste disposal guy and dispose of Teresa's body. And this guy won't shut the fuck up. He won't stop talking. He obviously doesn't give a fuck about this maid, doesn't give a fuck about anybody. He's talking about how Paulie's going to kill Reacher someday, blah, blah, blah. And Reacher finally just fucking throws him a punch to the gut like he gave to Paulie. And the dude just immediately barfs everywhere.
Yeah.
Just hits him so hard that he fucking barfs.
Yeah.
And
I'm looking at the maid right now.
Found your off button.
Yep.
And then Reacher has to go out and dump the maid's body in the same water.
Yeah.
The nature's toilet.
It's brutal. It's brutal. Then he has a talk with Duffy, right? I'm going to oversimplify this, but he basically, she's talking about Teresa and he's all, she's dead. So after this whole, like, I need to hold out hope for Teresa with Villanueva, like Reacher's all, no, the maid didn't last an hour, like Teresa's dead. You need to just accept that. Like, she's gone.
And this is like he calls because Beck is telling Reacher that, hey, Quinn's called a meeting.
Yep.
We got to all go over there all right now. Big shipment, blah, blah, blah. Quinn's called the meeting. You're going to finally meet the boss. And Reacher didn't
Oh
sleep
yeah.
all night. Reacher looks fucked up. The kid comes. He's like, "You're scared, aren't you? Like you're scared of Polly." And Reacher's like, "No, I'm not. I'm not scared." But obviously he's never encountered anything quite like
No,
that.
he said I just haven't figured him out yet.
I just haven't
You know,
figured him out. Yeah.
so now Reacher has to take his own advice and be smart.
Mhm.
That's what he has
Yes.
to do. But
Uh,
yeah. So he gets
and
called in.
and that's why he calls Duffy because he's
Yep.
like, I mean, if Quinn recognizes me, this whole thing's blown. I could
Yep.
probably take out a couple of them, kill them." And she's like, "No, if you do that, they're gonna know about Teresa. Like, if you do that, they're gonna know." And he's like, "Duffy, she's fucking dead.
Yep.
She's dead. Look what they did to this maid 15 minutes after finding out she was a snitch. You think Teresa's still alive?" And it's kind of a black pill for Duffy. But Reacher's now going into this meeting. They're going to meet the big boss. They're going to meet McCabe, who's actually Xavier Quinn.
And
And
he's
they
ready to
walk.
just kill him and die.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's what
And,
he's ready to do.
and he asked Beck, he's like, "Do you get called in often?" He's all, "No." He's all, is this going to be an in and out or just an in?" And he's all, I don't know. He's like, "All right." And that's where it ends. It ends like, "You're about to meet Mr. Quinn." He's like, I've been looking forward to this,
for quite some time. And he
he
basically grabs his gun
yeah.
as they're about to be introduced to Quinn in front of a bunch of guys that all have guns because there's a big shipment. So, and that's where the episode leaves off.
Shit's about to go down again.
Shit may be about to go down, yes. It's all dependent on whether Quinn's amnesia that was reported in the medical record is accurate, or if it was a short-term thing, if he remembers the incident that happened with him and Reacher. I guess we'll have to see next week.
Yeah, that'd have to be a pretty big bump in the head for him not to remember Reacher.
Well, he did get shot in the head. That was the only time he'd ever seen Reacher, by the way. He had no idea who Reacher was. The only time he had ever seen him was in the 3 minutes preceding Reacher shooting him in the face and him getting brain damage.
Oh, so yeah, it's pretty good so far, you know. I have to kind of wait for this season to end just to like measure it up with season 1 or 2.
Yeah, we need to see the finale.
Yeah.
You
Let
know,
me see how it goes.
you see everything goes down, but I've liked this season a lot. There's some changes from the books. So Beck's wife is alive in the books.
Mm-hmm.
And like Beck's wife is a kind of a presence at the house as well. They've kind of changed some of those things just to the kid. Some of the little conversations they've had, I feel like it's just to the kid. The wife isn't super integral to the story or anything, but that's just one of the things that they've changed. And we'll see. Obviously, I feel like Neely's going to show up at some point in time to help. Maybe when for the entire big culmination of everything, once she realizes.
Well,
that
she
Quinn's
said,
really involved.
like, she looked pretty determined to go out there and help him once she figures out where he is.
Yes,
In that last phone call.
And I feel like we saw one shot from the trailer of Neely holding a gun, which I assume we're still going to see that.
Yeah.
In the actual episode. I don't think she's going to play a huge important role. I just think we're going to have another small Neely appearance, probably towards the end of the series.
Dude,
yeah,
a Neely spinoff show is just like
no one's going to watch that.
I don't give a shit.
No one's going to. I'm not going to watch that. Nobody's going to watch it.
Nope.
I think she's fine in the show.
Yeah, in bits and pieces, it's fine.
Yeah,
the whole show.
And I do think that like she makes like 4 appearances or something in the books. She's probably made more appearances than any other character in the books. And you know, people really enjoyed her character in the books, which is probably why they wanted some little line of attachment in the like something to make these not just seem like completely disconnected.
Yeah.
Even though the books kind of are a little bit. But yeah, obviously we know there's a Pauly Reacher showdown happening, right?
Yeah, that's going to be
the Clegane Bowl, basically, is what this is going to be.
Hopefully it'll be better than the Clegane Bowl.
Well, if Reacher grabs Paulie and they both go down into that big rock toilet, that would be effectively the Clegane Bowl. I hope we don't see that though.
Yeah. And we're never going to get one in the A Song of Ice and Fire books. And if we did, it's not really Clegane. He doesn't have a head. He's just got a smoke. He's got smoke for a head. Is that really Clegane? What I loved about the Clegane Bowl is by the end they recast the mountain so much that his older brother was like clearly 20 years younger than Rory McCain. It's like, what the hell? They stopped giving a fuck. Saley, I cannot pronounce your last name, and I don't want to disrespect it. For $5, I can barely pronounce normal words. Gone are the days where Iron Fist and Cloak and Dagger were the worst Marvel shows. They're great in comparison to what we get now. For the most part, Daredevil Born Again is better than freaking Cloak and Dagger and Iron Fist by a mile.
Watch the first two episodes, and they feel like something's missing. Like it is not up to the Netflix. It doesn't feel like the Netflix show.
No.
I think there's definitely good parts about it. And we'll see where it goes.
It's carried by good performances.
I thought that I kind of wish we'd had an entire episode of Matt Foggy and Karen. Right. And because it felt really forced and weird the way they tried to just jam all this and, oh, guys, remember this in like 10 minutes before like all chaos breaks out. It would have been nice to get an entire episode with those characters. And then at the end, you have that shit go down. I think it would have been, I think it just would have been better. And we would have a better understanding of where their characters are now in the aftermath of the Netflix series after all this time. I think we'd have a better like feel for them than we do now. Cause now we're just left asking so many questions. I also don't necessarily think Foggy's dead.
He's not.
I don't think he is. I think Foggy's alive personally. Like I know he's faked his death in the comics before. I feel like he's not dead, but still, I can only take the opening scene for what it is before we figure out if it's a twist.
Listen, if you've read the comics, you know. If you know, you know. Okay, that's the thing. That's what I'm up against
right
on the internet right now. But it's like if you know, you know.
I also think that the CGI was fucking distracting in that opening.
Dodgy in that. When he was jumping on the buildings, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
Like it was distractingly bad. It was just that, and that it sucks because that's the introduction to Daredevil in the show.
Yeah,
you know, was that really weird
and like there's no excuse, right? So their excuse for it, and we'll talk about it more tomorrow, but like they had to repurpose what they could from what they had already shot, and they had to like pull in Karen and Foggy last minute. Remember, all these decisions were made after the strike. That's how they were able to get Wilson Fisk's wife back, because they were going to recast her. So these first 6 episodes are all remnants of what was there and them trying to put stuff around it, and then it turns into this guy show like around the end. And I know what happens, so whatever, but I won't tell you. But Muse is a pretty good villain in the comic books. So if they get him right, that'd be kind of cool. So we'll see. But just
I didn't hate it or anything. It's just like
I liked it.
Like the feel of it just doesn't hold up to what preceded it, and it's tough to not directly compare it. I didn't dislike it or anything, but there's something missing.
It's got it's too clean looking. It's not as gritty as the Netflix show. Razorfist pointed out today, you missed Daredevil's apartment. Like his apartment was so fucking rad that just it's pure noir.
Yeah. Now I do think there's an element of that kind of goes with the theming of everything that's happening. Matt is like cleansed his life. He's cleansed his life of Daredevil. He is moving up in the world. He's now working with a big other attorney, and they're in a fancy place. He's in a fancy apartment. Like that feels very intentional, that tone. So we'll see how it proceeds throughout. But that is 100% one thing you notice immediately.
Yep. Well, according to Chris, most shocking act of violence in in all of Marvel happens towards the end.
The most
So we'll see.
shocking,
Most shocking act of violence. And it definitely gets like way more violent as time goes on. But yeah, I'd say
the stairwell scene seemed like a desperate attempt to recreate the hallway scene, and there were parts of it that were really fucking cool, and there were parts of it that didn't look good.
Dude, Matt getting peppered with fucking knives was awesome. That was fucking rad.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah, like yeah, I can't say much more. But some stuff comes full circle. But if you've read the comics, people don't stay dead in the comics. And there's more than one Foggy storyline where he has to disappear for a while. More than one. It's a thing. But yeah, having reviewed Cloak and Dagger, that was a giant on Freeform. Remember Freeform? Is that still around? And I hated Iron Fist. I fucking hated
like,
Iron
would
Fist.
Foggy, I can totally see Foggy faking his own death, obviously. Maybe he didn't expect some of the collateral damage or any of this stuff, but if he was faking his own death, like, did he set the entire thing up to do that? Or was it just he took advantage? It looked like he fucking died.
I think they're going to invert. This is just my speculation. They're going to invert when Foggy finds out Matt is Daredevil, and they have that whole episode about trust and all this stuff. And now Foggy has to do it to him.
Yeah. The thing is, I just can't see Foggy being okay with him also fucking killing like 10 innocent people there.
Yeah, well, I don't
cool balls.
Yeah, dude, that was awesome. I fucking love Bullseye. That first shot where he's like kills the fly with the fucking. I was like, great. Yes. Yeah. So they got some stuff good and some stuff not so good. There's a bunch of characters in there I don't give a shit about, but talked about it in my video.
I liked it. It just doesn't stand up to Netflix.
No,
and that's
it doesn't stand up.
Task, but yeah,
it is the tallest. It is the smartest. I'm not going to call it a retard because I actually like the show, but it's the best thing Disney Plus has ever fucking put out. No, that's a fucking low bar though. That is a low ass bar.
We'll see where it goes. We've seen 2 episodes. So.
Yep. Yo, Ryan, just saw Ben Johnson been beefing up online. Jonah Jackson and Joe Thuney are dogs.
He's talking about the Chicago Bears, and in about 24 hours, they fixed some of the holes in the center of that offensive line there.
That's great.
Except the center. Still got to work on the center.
Do you have a quarterback yet? How about you got a coach, right? So you got a coach.
We got a fucking quarterback. Don't worry about that. We just don't have a fucking offensive line.
Well, neither did the Chargers. And I don't know if they have a quarterback. Got a good coach, though. Like the coach. Bears should have got that coach.
I wanted to go there. I like Ben Johnson. I'm happy that we ended up with Ben Johnson, but yes, I think we shit the bed not getting Harbaugh.
Yep. Well, Harbaugh's going to come in for 3 or 4 years, burn people out, and leave. That's what he does. And especially with it'll probably even less with that fucking retard Spanos who owns the Chargers. So, Sith Lord Darth Bong, I got blue balled without my reach around last week.
But my blue balls or your blue balls are my fault. Sorry.
Yeah. Make sure it's good and proper next time. Super Telecom for 10 Australian pesos. Have some dollars, Gary. Put it towards your one of your ship porn descriptions or something. I was watching the ultimate ship porn last night, Star Trek the Motion Picture, because I'm solo now, so I can fire up a 3-hour movie or close to 3-hour movie at midnight and just watch it all on 4K. Goodness. God, I love that movie so much. You have to be a Star Trek fan to love that movie, though, because it is just looking at spaceships for a long time. A Reacher went around like Jeremy at Pride Parade. People are going to start really thinking Jeremy's gay. I find that really amusing. Sethrin for $9.99. Hail, boys! Is it me, or is this season better like the first when Reacher is by himself, sort of, instead of with all the Scooby Gang from season 2? I prefer it. Yeah, but I mean, that's the nature of the books, for the most part, as far as I know.
The book that they adapted for season 2 is a standout in terms of it's very unlike a Reacher book. And they did the right thing 100% adapting Killing Floor in season 1, which is the first Reacher novel. And I think they wanted to do that other one in season 2 because Like I personally think they wanted to do it because they wanted to give you a little more history, like background on Reacher a little bit, which I don't know if he necessarily needed it, but it's the show and the books are not at their best when Reacher is part of a group like that. It's way better when he is kind of lone wolf,
Yeah.
right? You know, rolling into town and fucking gets caught up in something.
Dude, it's a Western. It's, it's kind of like a Western.
It is, yeah.
Dude rolls in, man with no name, kind of. Oh, fuck your Go Giant shit in the chat. So somebody brought up that yes, I wear a Padre hat like all the time. I am
Pretty
from
often.
San Diego, and the Padres were brought to San Diego and were incepted the year I was born. So I am just as old as the Padres, and it's the last sports team I root for. As a guy who used to root for a lot of sports teams, big NFL fan, but the last one I hang on to is my Padres. They're a pathetic organization for the most part.
They're the last one that are still in San Diego. Ironically,
Yep.
Gary, you are not in San Diego anymore.
I am not in San Diego. I shouldn't even care.
Why? How can you blame the Chargers when you left?
I can't really. but they left to LA, which is fucking worse,
So they can rent a stadium.
Yeah, I just hate Spanos. I could probably root for the Chargers again if he didn't own the team.
Clippers left, Chargers left.
Yeah, I went to Clipper games when I was a kid all the time. Norm Nixon. I sat next to Norm Nixon one time. That's a fucking old NBA name that nobody's gonna. Former point guard from the Lakers. Then he came. Bill Walton. I've met Bill Walton a bunch of times. Yeah. I'm an old school San Diego guy. So we will be back next week with episode 6. Yes, the Clippers were in San Diego. So were the Houston Rockets. So were the Rockets. The San Diego Rockets start. Now that was, I think I was too young to care, but I have some San Diego Rockets like cups and stuff.
Like San Diego, I lived there for 4 years, so it's just my perspective. There is something, I think it's a California thing more so than a San Diego thing.
Jelly bean.
The fans just don't show up. Sports fans are not diehard there. Unless you're really fucking good, the fans don't show up. Unless there is some sort of like Lakers games, right? There is an awe around Lakers games. Celebrities show up to Lakers games, so other people will show up, even if they go through some bad stretches. But it's just a different attitude, I guess, in a place like Southern California.
That's Southern California.
As a Midwest sports fan, who it doesn't matter if the Cubs have a million bad seasons in a row. Fuck it, it's still really hard to get tickets at Wrigley in the summer. You know what I mean? It's still really expensive to go see a Cubs game. Whenever the Cubs visit these other places like San Diego, they outnumber the Padres fans that are there. It's different. And I think there's a reason that San Diego, despite having so many people and so much probably money to spend in San Diego, there's a reason that so many teams have left. Because it's just tough to get get the fans to care if you're not really good.
And the city just like they won't build airports, they don't build roads. It's a miracle that baseball and like that's what baseball is perfect for San Diegans. They're laid back, they're mellow. If you can like entice them out with some fucking brews and some food, they don't give a shit about the game. So like they're now becoming a baseball town. I think that they're pretty legit baseball town. But they're not going to support anything else. Yeah,
they finally spent some money. I think their window that they could have had may be done already. Obviously, Soto didn't stay. Machado and Tatis are there for a while, but I just don't know if they're going to be able to spend the type of money to be competitive with the Dodgers.
No, and the owner dying, and now there's a battle for ownership between the widow and the brothers, and it's such a San Diego story. It's such a fucking San Diego story. So,
because I got to be there when they got Machado and Tatis came up, and there was a lot of energy and excitement around the team, and the place started filling up. You know, place started filling up, started being the place to be.
Top 5 in attendance.
Park. I probably went to a fucking more than 100 Padres games in the 4 years that I was in San Diego. Probably more than 100. One, because they were so fucking cheap and easy to go to. And after the third inning, I could basically sit anywhere I wanted. But yeah, food is great. The park is a fantastic atmosphere. You can bring your own food in there if you want, which is
Yeah.
that's the first park I'd ever been to where
That
you could order Papa John's and walk like 3 Papa John's pizzas in as long as it would fit under your
yeah.
seat.
Yeah, that is purely a San Diego thing. Yeah, it's just it used to be it was the most Southern California place, even though it is the most Southern California place, but your idea of what Southern California is, it's San Diego. It's not LA. It's San
Yeah.
Diego, or it was. It was. It's not really that anymore. So fuck them. I don't care. I don't care. And it sucks that I have to go back. I still have shit in San Francisco, Ryan, that I have to fucking get. It's been 3 years.
Is it a
And
storage unit or something?
I got a storage unit that in the next couple months I'm taking care of because I'm just tired of paying for it.
Yeah, it's hard to paying $120 every month for 3 years. Jesus.
Well, it was worth every penny to stay away from San Francisco, but I have to like drive there and drive back. And if I go there, I got to visit a couple of friends, and then I got to drive through the town, and like I'll probably do is get some content.
Hire
out
one
of
of those pod things.
Yeah, I could. But I was thinking of doing some content, like going down to the Tenderloin and stuff and getting some video of just all the fucking zombies and shit. Because it's bad.
Your return to, a couple years after your Cal exit, you could do my return to California.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe I can get on Gavin Newsom's podcast. That'd be awesome. I'd love to get on that fucking podcast.
Bro, I had
Alan
a sponsorship offer from some super left-wing YouTube channel podcast that has like
you should have taken it.
2 million subscribers. They offered me a lot of money just to like do a shout out or promote. And I'm like, they're probably just going and spamming everybody with these. But who the fuck in my audience is going to want to listen to that?
Nobody. Alan Richson, from a former Leo, I send to you the same words Cody Rhodes sent to The Rock at the Chamber. Loser.
Did you say fuck you? Is that what Cody Rhodes said?
I don't know.
I didn't watch Elimination Chamber.
That sounds like wrestling stuff. All right. Oh, we got one more. As baseball fans, any prospects you guys are excited to see potentially come up this year?
Not particular. I honestly haven't paid too much attention to minor league baseball over the past year or two. I was watching more minor league baseball than anyone has a right to. I had the fucking like extra MLB subscriptions back when the Cubs were rebuilding, back when they had Schwarber and Baez and Chris Bryant and those guys coming up through the farm system. But I haven't paid too much attention to top prospects in a couple of years.
When someday when I retire, I will go back to watching baseball all fucking day like I used to do, and listening to it on the radio and going out to Peoria. I remember Yuma when the Padres played in Yuma, Arizona.
I really wish that Florida, like the Grapefruit League, was the same as the Cactus League, because it's so perfect there because everything's just in that little circle around Phoenix.
Yeah.
And so you can watch a ton of different things. You can watch 2 games a day. You can go to practice and then a game. Like, you can do all this stuff. In Florida, everything's spread around the entire fucking state.
Yeah.
Fuck. I don't have the time for that shit.
Arizona's great this time of year. Okay, before we leave, just hit rewind. We talked about the show. Just hit rewind. Hemorrhoid hurts. Brother, they do. Okay. That is a fact. Don't get those things. I don't recommend them.
I don't know.
I was a delivery driver. I was a delivery driver, bro. Back in the day. Yeah. TMI, probably. TMI. All right. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Eric. Thanks to the Nerdrotics. Thanks to everyone who left super chat and donation. You help keep the lights on. We do this for fun. I like talking about shows I like or kind of like. And yeah. So
I enjoy watching Reacher.
I do too. It's good to have some fun stuff to watch to mix in with the slop. And oh God, there's so much coming. So I'll let you know about Mickey 17 tomorrow. We'll be on Friday Night Tights with Paul Chato talking. We'll break down. It'll be an echo chamber with Daredevil, apparently. Just a big old echo chamber. Oh, yeah, I'm sure it won't. It's great. I love it. And so we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see you back here next Thursday. Thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome, Gary. Thanks for having me.
Take care, everybody.